Welcome back to the best weight loss podcast in the world. Today, I have with me not the Italian Stallion. We replaced one John with another John.
Yeah.
We got John Gone today.
Hello.
AKA Obese to Beast. But, John Arpino couldn't be here today. We were hanging over the weekend and wrestling around, and somehow his testicles got all twisted, and so he's getting those sorted out, getting those fixed. So hopefully he recovers fast. Go wish him a quick recovery. Go comment on his latest post. Say, I hope your balls recover fast.
I thought, why did he message me and just say that he can't deal with you anymore?
No.
He was saying he might be done with the podcast. Okay.
No. Yeah. But we wish him the best recovery. Yeah?
Yep.
I hope he'll be back here next week and he can tell you guys all about it. But anyways, today is going to be a fun one with you guys. We're talking about relationships and weight loss. It can be weight loss, but it can be just health in general in relationships. Now, someone hit me up about this. Actually, a few people did. And this is one I had in the pipeline anyway. So I figured, hey, good time to chat about it. And I think John brings a cool perspective because we can also maybe tie in like relationships and social media a little bit. Because we've talked about that before. And I'm clearing my throat because I just ate a bunch of melon. And so my throat is full of sugary goodness.
What kind of melon?
Honeydew and cantaloupe.
Oh. Yeah. Those are the two melons that most people say are the worst.
Watermelon's overrated.
Okay, that's not true. First off, I don't mind cantaloupe, which apparently, I'm not sure if this is, okay, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure in Australia, it's either both honeydew and cantaloupe are called rock melon, or just cantaloupe is called rock melon, and I really like that name.
That's a way cooler name.
Yeah, I agree. It's a way cooler name. What is cantaloupe? Melon. But because they look like rocks. That might not be exactly why, but I mean, it makes sense to me.
It's definitely the cantaloupe that would look like a rock.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because honeydew is smooth.
Yeah. Yeah, but I can't.
Stop.
I'll be all right.
This is the worst. I thought you said this was the best weight loss, but it's so bad.
Dude, I'm never going to call you again if you start with that, okay? But yeah, relationships and weight loss. Let's start with just the most common for people, which is going to be losing weight around like your family and friends. I think that's a good place to start because it can be really, honestly, it can be worse enough that it like stops a journey from happening, you know, for some people. Because, some people I find are in a place where they're like, you know what, I'm so confident in this journey because I've maybe done this before or whatever. But especially if you're starting out, you're like in that stage of like, I don't really know what I'm doing, if it's right, if it's wrong. A lot of people are giving me different opinions. And then not to mention like every little thing that you do is like talked about or mentioned. You could be doing really well and then you're like, hey, I'm going to have some chips. And then someone in your family is like, oh, I thought you were getting healthy. You're going to have those chips. We've all been there, and it can be very discouraging.
I have a story. I remember when I was like one of the many times that I had tried to lose weight when I was younger. I was probably still in high school at this point, and I had a group of friends that lived pretty close to me, and they lived on the way to a 7-Eleven that we would all go to, but that I would go to, right? And I remember I had told them that I was trying to lose weight or whatever. Like, they were friends from, I think they went to the same church as I did. They went to, the same youth groups. And so, we just talked, right? And so, I had told them that I was trying to lose weight. And then, I don't know, a few weeks go by, and I'm no longer doing that anymore.
Yeah.
And I was walking back from 7-Eleven with whatever, a bag of whatever it was, chips and a drink probably or something like that. And one of them looks at me and he was like, oh, I thought you were it wasn't even like he was trying to be a douche, right? Or but it was just like, oh, I thought you were trying to lose weight. And it's like, what do you say to that? Of course you're not I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna say oh, no, I'm not anymore. No, I've given up. No one wants to say that you've given up, right? Yeah. So then it's like, you have to almost lie to yourself and to them, oh yeah, just get back on it or whatever. And it's just like, bro, why did you, come on, man. Like, obviously in this moment, that's not something I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
But yeah,
even if you are, right, like it's definitely just like like what do you, it's not like a question that you can answer that has any sort of positive.
Yeah.
You're not just going to like drop everything you've bought immediately be like, oh, dude, you're so right. Like, my bad.
Dude, what the, how did this get in my hand? What the heck? I went to buy water and a rock melon. What the
callback? I want to get some fruit and
hot
somehow Doritos.
Cheetos. What are these? I'm so confused. I went to buy a banana. I don't understand. Yeah.
Yeah, like so hopefully, you get those people who are like doing it from a place of like they're just kind of saying something because it's just like but there definitely is moments where like usually with older, family members, like they'll definitely be like, oh, like what are you doing? Like,
yeah.
And they'll do it in a way that it like they're trying not to be mean, but it's very like condescending and it can be tough. And so my recommendation is just like know that it's definitely a possibility and that when it happens to just reply with like the most, you can go about it one of two ways. You just be super like kind, like, oh, yeah, I'm still doing that. Just going to have a little bit and then just move on. Or, depending on where you're at with your family. I think that if you feel like you have a good relationship with your family members to be like, hey, like it would really help, maybe not in that moment, but maybe mention it later. Like, hey, it really helped me if like you just didn't mention when I eat stuff. Like, I feel like people are very, especially when it comes to elders in family, like there's like I don't want to talk, say someone older than me did something wrong. It's not necessarily what you're doing, but just letting them know like, hey, I'm really trying to do this and I appreciate your support. One thing that could help me would be when you see me, do these little things, it's something I've definitely already thought about. Yeah. So if you could not mention it, I would really appreciate that. And that'll help me stick to my goals.
Yeah.
I think communicating that clearly and positively could go a long way. Of course, like I said, depending on what kind of relationship you have, if that's something that's not possible, then just being like, oh yeah.
That's like, yeah, it's just like, there's just no, like in the moment, I feel like there's no real response. Like something that I deal with still to this day, it's usually, it's a very interesting kind of dynamic. It's like most of the people I'm around at this point, I've been around and they've saw me from, like the beginning of my journey, or they just know me as the guy that didn't struggle with his weight, right? Because it's been a decade now, right? At this point. And so like, I don't deal with this that much. The only time I will deal with it is when it's like someone that knew me back in the day and maybe hasn't seen me in a long time and now they're seeing me again. Is if they see me eating something that's unhealthy in quotes, or whatever, they will be like, "Oh, can you eat that? Are you? Is it okay?" Or like, even if there's like food at a venue or whatever, right? Oh, is it okay? Like, are you able to eat this? And it's just like, bro, I am a human being, okay? Like, yes, I can have a hamburger, like I don't only eat freaking cruciferous vegetables, I'm not over here with freaking like carrots that I'm carrying around with me that I'm only allowed to eat, I don't know. It's just it's a very interesting dynamic because it's a very specific person that does it to me now. But it was definitely something like, I would say that I was, as far as like my journey is concerned, I was relatively lucky in the department of people being a-holes and like judging my food intake or what I was eating, because like everyone, all of my family and my close friends were all very, very, very supportive because they wanted to see me succeed, because I think they knew how bad I wanted to lose weight. And they genuinely were like, you need to lose weight. You know what I mean? It was like, this is becoming like scary for us kind of thing, especially my mom. Like we've had conversations since then, because I still lived with her when I was losing weight, right? And we've had conversations where she told me that she was just genuinely worried for me, right? And so like she was just so excited, and she tried to help as much as she could at the time with like making that up something that I could do. We, it was still like, it wasn't like I was able to be like, oh, okay, the whole house has to now not drink soda and there can't be chips in the house, like that wasn't going to happen, because I mean, when I was losing the weight, we had a lot of people that lived in my house at the time. I think there was like 11 people there. And so like, it's just like, that wasn't going to happen. And so I had to take some accountability and make sure that I was doing the things that I needed to do, regardless of what food was in the house or who else had food there or whatever. But there was definitely support. Like my mom would try and help, and get healthier things. But it can definitely be difficult if you have people that you feel are sabotaging you in the journey. And that's something that happens a lot with people that are trying to lose weight. And I think like, I'm curious what your thoughts are, but I feel like a big part of it comes from just jealousy. And then I think fear, for some people, because especially if like, say we're talking about like a significant other kind of relationship. I know that I'm kind of just yapping now, but like one thing I think about whenever this, because I've talked about this a lot too, right? Like when this topic gets brought up, a lot of times people talk about people that get, weight loss surgeries and the chances of those relationships, either it's a marriage or whatever, ending, right? And I think a big part of it is, like, I think people might look at that statistic because it's a high number, right? High number of people that are in a relationship, that relationship ends at some point with that surgery.
After surgery?
Yeah. And I think people might look at it and think, oh, the person lost weight and then they kicked them to the curb kind of thing. And I mean, maybe that's
There's so much
happening.
more than that.
Yeah. I think a big part of it is that, and I've said this before, if you're in a relationship with someone and that person is significantly overweight, like really, really overweight, to the point that they're considering getting weight loss surgery, right? Hundreds of pounds or whatever. And the other person in the relationship isn't struggling with their weight to that extent, you're still probably living very similar lives, right? And so like there's very similar habits, there's very similar things that you enjoy. There's going to be a lot of obviously crossover with your lives. And so if someone starts it doesn't even have to be weight loss or weight loss surgery. It can just be natural weight loss, whatever you want to call it, right? Or GLP-1 or whatever, right? If someone makes a huge shift in their life where they're now doing something completely different, trying to change their life, that's going to come with a huge difference in things that they enjoy doing or that they will do, right? Foods that they will eat. And if the relationship has been based off of like, we want to go get pizza and watch a movie, and then we do that, 4 times a week kind of thing, that can't happen anymore. And that's going to be a huge was it boon? But it's going to be a huge problem in the relationship. It's going to be a constant source of struggle, right? Say you're like considering a relationship, right? For you at this point, how important and how soon do you think you would bring up kind of the fact that you're on a weight loss journey, and that you like, how important is it to you to bring that up? Like how in the forefront of the relationship do you think like you would want to start talking about that kind of stuff?
For me, like, I don't think that so I've talked about this before on like my story briefly, but I don't think right now I'm looking for a long-term relationship, like during the phase.
That's
because
smart.
The person I am now, there's 2 reasons. The person I am now, I don't feel like is going to attract the person that I want. And that's not just physical, it's part of it, but it's not just physical. And then 2, like trying to like have like goals in business and in health and also being a dad, like doing all those things and then adding like a kind of relationship that I don't know where it sits in that, and things are going to be ever changing, and like the future is so uncertain. Like a lot of reasons, like those reasons are why I'm like at this point just like seeing what's out there. I said it on a previous podcast. I'm proud hoe right now. If I find someone along the way that fits that vibe and just like brings me peace and I bring them peace, sweet, cool, awesome. Definitely not going to like avoid that, but definitely for right now, like I'm in a place where like my goals, my daughter come first. And then once those are achieved and there's like kind of a balance, and like now it's kind of, because maintaining health is a bit different than like in the midst of it. Because when you're in the midst of it, you're super focused, you're selfish in a way. I think it definitely takes more selfishness to like achieve weight loss than it does to maintain it. Like, that just becomes kind of habits rather than like
Hopefully, if it's, I think if it's been done, I don't want to say correctly because that's whatever, but like, yeah, I understand where you're coming from on that.
Yeah, so like, I know where I'm going to be, and I know the kind of person that, like, my past relationships have given me a lot of insight in like the person that I really am going to mesh with and what I want from them and what I want to give to them, and hopefully those things vibe together. But that's basically where I'm at right now. Mm-hmm. For you, like, we've talked about it before, where you were open about your relationships in the past, and now you're a bit more different.
Yeah.
What's that been like as far as like social media and?
Yeah, like, I mean, I think one part of it has just been me maturing as a person. I think honestly, part of it was like, yo, I like to be like, yo, look at me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got a pretty girlfriend. Because like, honestly, like a big part of me wanting to lose weight was that wanting to be in a relationship. Like I was so
it's a lot of
like it still
like,
is a lot. I think and I think it's like something that people don't like to bring up because it seems shallow, and maybe it is. It seems like, oh, that's not that big of a deal compared to me wanting to save my life, which was important as well. But like I would be lying if I didn't say like the fact that I wanted to be in a relationship and not feel so burdened by this thing that I struggled with, which was my weight. Because like for me, it was like my weight was. It was the first thing I thought about every time I woke up. It was any interaction I had with a person, regardless of their, if I was attracted to them or not, or if, if they're a dude, like, or a woman. It just was like, that was the first thought that I had was my weight. Right. And so it just made it permeated every single interaction I had. And so it felt impossible for me to seek a relationship that I would have wanted because I was consumed by the thought of is what I'm doing something a fat guy would do? Like that's like a thought I would have a lot. Like, is this something a fat guy would do? Because I didn't want to do that, because I wanted to be different. I guess I was a little bit of a pick-me, I'm not like other fat guys. And so like it was like huge. It was a really big part of why I wanted to lose weight. Like I have literal stories about like, being at an event with this was in high school with a bunch of friends, and then everyone's like, let's play hide and seek outside. And I'm like, oh God, here we go. And then all the couples and all the, they all go off, and then I'm just walking around like, well, it's dark out here. And I'm just walking around. I start crying. Like it because I was just so frustrated, like so frustrated. And so like I think part of why, long story, part of why I think I shared a lot was because it was like I think it was like a sort of pride thing, which was definitely childish, but I was a child, when I first started posting on social media. I was like 20, right? And so I was still learning a lot, and I learned a lot from those relationships. And it's funny, actually, one of my exes, this maybe is too much information, but whatever, recently reached out to me, and I was like, what's up? And they said they wanted to talk, and I was like, I messaged Amanda, and as my current girlfriend, and I was like, what do you think about this? I'm kind of nervous. I don't know what to expect. And then she was like, well, do you think she's going to say like maybe she cheated on you when you were together? And I was like, I mean, I guess that's possible. I didn't even think about that. I was like, I really don't think that's what, like, yeah. I hope not. But I mean, honestly, I don't think it would have bothered me that much. I mean, not, like, oh, shit, I don't know. It would have been so long ago, but yeah. So they actually reached out to me, and they just wanted to have a conversation because they said that they feel that they treated me worse than they've ever treated someone else, which I was surprised because, like, I mean, I didn't think our relationship was that bad. Like, it wasn't perfect, but we were literally kids, Yeah. And so, like, there was definitely a time when I wanted to share a lot more, but people can get weird, man. Like, more than me. People can get weird. And so I've just decided that I want to, like, I still share stuff, people know her name's Amanda and stuff, but I try not to really tag her just because, like, yeah, people can find her if they wanted to, but, like, I try to make it not super easy to just click on something, because it's just, like, it makes me uncomfortable. Like, I had exes that, like, by the time we would no longer be in a relationship, they have, like, almost 10,000 followers, and that just feels weird. Like, because like they end up not using that page anymore and they have to start a new one, and it's almost like I took that. It just feels weird, man. Like
Definitely.
And so, but that's kind of not about weight loss. It's about being a social media influencer. But like, there's for me, I think
like a lot of people, I feel like who, follow us in a way, like a lot of people do like inquire about like, oh, like, I want to start posting. And so these are just things that like, if you want to post your weight loss journey, like I never thought anything was going to come from social media. Right.
Yeah.
So like, if you would have told me like, oh, well, if you're posting social media, what's it for? I wouldn't have said like, oh, I want to, become someone one day, like an internet personality.
Yeah.
If you Google, but, like that is something you have to think about as far as like, it does impact your life in multiple different ways. And out of respect to, the mother of my child, I don't really talk about that relationship. But one thing I will say with feeling comfortable about is that like weight was never an issue, both sides. Like we were both like kind of fluctuating, right? It was never ever like a main like, hey, I'm not attracted to you, or I'm not attracted to you. Yeah. Like that just wasn't really a thing for us. And for some people that's going to be different because like some people, it doesn't become like a, hey, I'm attracted to you now, but it's like, hey, the people that we were when we got together, are very different than where we're at now versus, especially when it's like one partner versus another. And a lot of people, this is kind of a controversial opinion, like will be like, well, no, like if you are with someone, you're with them no matter what, whatever stuff they go through. And like to an extent, absolutely, but there is that level with anything that it gets to where it's like, hey, like when that starts to impact like your ability to then do the things that you got together, then like that's when like just going back to what we first talked about was like, that's when things can get difficult. And that's when those like, those splits happen because it's like, hey, we're not doing what we got together for. Yeah.
And it's like a sedentary person is going to have a lot less in common with someone that is active. Yeah, and that is especially if you're very active. You know what I mean? It's just like a lot of times that means the person that was sedentary was bigger and then they became active and they lost weight. But it's not happening in a vacuum. It's not like they lost weight and they didn't change anything else about their personality or about the things that they enjoy. Like those things are huge, huge, huge parts, right? Like anyone that has to lose a significant amount of weight, how much you have to change, right? Especially if you are very sedentary, right? Like if you are very sedentary, the things that you are enjoying doing every night or like on the weekends are going to be very different most of the time than someone that is active. Like it's just like those things are going to be very different, right? And
yeah, dude. And one thing, and we talked about it a bit on the things people don't talk about, but like your ability to perform changes, like depending on how much weight you gain, of course. Yeah. And say if you gain a significant amount of weight during a relationship, like intercourse becomes an entirely different thing. Like there's when you're both healthy individuals, you can kind of, the world's your oyster. Yeah. And when you're not, it reduces that. Like even me being like single now and like, doing my thing, it's something that is in my brain. Like, man, this fucking sucks. Yeah. Like, cause I know where I was, like, especially being someone who was leaner, like I know where I was and like what that was like. And now you're like,
I'm just imagining you like sitting in your room with like the Kama Sutra open, being like, I can't do that one, and it's next.
No, but no, it's just
like a plan, like 30 pounds for sure. I'll be able to do that one.
It's positions, it's energy, it's so many like cramps. So many things change, and it's a bummer, dude. Like it definitely is something that like, I'm not like. I'm not insecure about it in the moment because that would just be like a huge turnoff. Yeah. But like afterwards, I'm like, fuck. Yeah. I know if I was healthier, I could do much better. Yeah.
I think
it's reality, it may be weird, but like these are things that like people don't talk about.
You've gone, you know what I mean? Like for me, I think I had sex like one time when I was bigger once. Yeah. Right. And it was with, a girl that was not really. So I just was like, all right, well, I'll just lay here. And that's all I could do, right? Like, and it was literally my first time, so I didn't know what I was doing, right? But like, so I don't really have, I can't really compare it. Yeah, now I'm a pro. And I do it all the time. All right, you guys, I'm freaking slaying puss all the time.
All right, you're never coming back on this podcast.
Meanwhile, I'm in a long distance relationship.
Slaying the puss I bought in my closet all the time. It looks just like my girlfriend.
It's not in my closet, all right? It's in this drawer. No, I'm just kidding. But like, yeah, so I really don't have like a frame of reference, but I can only imagine like how frustrating it could be, and then like especially if you're someone that deals with insecurities, right? Like, because I even like with loose skin, right? That is an insecurity, which, I mean, for me, it's never been something that I've struggled too much on, like where I was like, oh man, like I can't do this with this person because it was almost always known before it was always known before that was happening, right? So it wasn't like I take my shirt off, like, surprise, my nipples are on my belly button, like, you know what I mean? And so like that was never, because that would have been terrifying, you know what I mean? Like being like, what is this person gonna think? Let's find, like, hell no way, dude.
Yeah, that's one thing. Like, definitely this time around, like once I do lose the weight again, like I'm gonna have more loose skin than last time for sure. You know, I gained a lot more in like my side chest area, so I know I'm gonna have more in that area.
I mean, you didn't have much, bro. Like,
no, I never had enough that like, it wasn't even like a conversation ever.
Yeah,
like, you know, like it was. You'd notice it for sure.
Yeah.
Like if I was like on top, like you'd notice it hanging a little bit.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. Bro, that's for not this podcast, my guy. What are you doing? Also, you just told the world you're a bottom. So that's great.
Power
bottom.
Yes.
Anyways. Our nipples were just dragging.
Oh, I don't want to think about this anymore. Like melted pizzas.
Okay, I'm okay. Okay, all jokes, people.
They're jokes.
I don't know how to recover from that. Yeah, so this time around, I'm definitely gonna have a little bit more loose skin. So
yeah,
that's
does it scare you?
I don't know.
Nah. Does it scare you? No.
Yeah.
Do you think about it much?
What's that?
Do you think about it much?
Yeah, once in a while when I like look at myself, I'm like, oh shit. Like, I can see like areas that it'll be. Because definitely, like, you know, I was another 70 pounds bigger this time around.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's like, I was already like had stretch marks and stuff at like 312 before when I was younger. But now I'm like older, and then that's just more your body being like, okay, we got to make room for this. So it's just a reality. But I'm also terrified of surgery because I've never had any surgery or like very little medical things ever. So I don't know. It'll be something that like I most likely will deal with. And then if like I really, like if all of a sudden I do maintain the weight for like a long time, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll just, you know, whatever. I'm not close to the idea, but
yeah,
we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
You know,
but I do. So getting back to like kind of the topic, because that is a question I get a lot. Like, how do I want to lose weight, but this person in my life is doing this thing, right? And so kind of like to piggyback off of what you were saying earlier with like the conversation, like with someone that might be saying something mean, even if they're not, but if you have like this desire for more support, like say it, you know, like put it out there and just do it in a way that is that the person doesn't feel like you are demanding it, because I think that people might get defensive if that's what they're perceiving, right? To where it's like you're asking for almost like an olive branch, like a little bit of help, because it's like, yo, this is something that is difficult for me, and I would just really appreciate some support, you know, and like, especially if it is like someone that you're living with, where you're sharing food, or you're sharing, you know, like you're going out to eat with this person or whatever, like you have to understand that that decision you're making is going to affect these other people, right? And it's important to do your best. I feel it's important to do your best to, like, be aware of that fact and do your best to try and make it the least amount of a burden as possible. Now, I'm fully aware that that's coming from a person, which is me, who hates feeling like a burden. That's like one of my biggest fears, feeling like I'm a burden, feeling like I am annoying someone. Like if I start to feel that, I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to go lay in bed for the rest of the day, you know, like, because I just don't want to feel that way. And so again, like, take anything I'm saying with a grain of salt. I'm just a dude that had that experience, right? But like, people don't know until you say it to them, right? And who knows, maybe they'll be excited to try and help, you know, because I think, like, especially in the landscape we're in now, like, when you see someone that's trying to lose weight or whatever, it's like, I almost don't even want to talk about it. I don't want to bring it up until they bring it up, you know? So I try to avoid that because I don't want to talk about someone's weight loss or whatever they're doing unless, like, because who knows, maybe they're not trying to lose weight and the fact that they are losing weight is a problem, you know, or whatever it might be. So, yeah.
I think it's also great too, though, to like give someone that you trust and that you're close with, like, an ability to be like, hey, do keep me accountable when I'm being an asshole. You know, like, I think we all have that, like, one person that we were like okay with calling us out, you know, like, I think there's a level of true friendship in that. Like, even like you and I, like, back in the day, like, I never took to heart when you were like, dude, like, settle down. You know, because I know me, like, I know that you were, like, noticing what I already know, but you were someone I knew could relate with it yourself. And so there was that, like, barrier of like, oh, like, he's not being an ass because, like, he knows, you know, like, so for me, you were that person. And then also Brandon, who I, of course, started this whole thing with back in the day, he was that person because I trusted him to just know way more than me because he was, like, a fitness person. Right. So, like, if he was like, oh, dude, don't eat that, like, I'd be like, oh, okay. Like, you know, it never was, like, a thing. So I think find those people in your life that you can trust and that you are okay with keeping you accountable, because I think that also is a very important thing in your journey. You don't just want to, like, go through the whole thing, like, brushing off every form of criticism you ever get. You know, the reality is, if you look at all the criticism you get, I think it's important to try and look at, like look, kind of reflect on it and be like, do a lot of these people have similar things they're saying, or are there tidbits in here that I can really maybe take from and try to improve on in my journey, in my day-to-day actions? And I think that's important to do that. And it's like a way of maturing in a way, like, oh, you know, not everyone's out to get me. Some people are genuine, but they just maybe don't say it in the right way. But how can I maybe, once my emotions and my defensiveness is, like, gone, how can I look back and be like, you know what, they were kind of right here, I need to work on that. Yeah,
and I think, like, you have gotten better over the years of, like, there is definitely times where, like, the excuses and, like, the reasons we've had yes, exactly.
Protein, bro.
You got to tell the story. What's the protein story?
Just like, so after my show, we were all in Phoenix, Arizona, with me, you, Evo, and I think it already had, like, just started a little bit before that, but this is where it came to fruition because, like, all of you kind of noticed that I had done the same thing with all of you, where it was like, hey, I need to get, like, 40 grams of protein in, but I only have so many calories, so I'm just gonna, like, get a Subway sub with extra meat because, like, that's protein.
and chips, you know, because well, you can't have a Subway without chips.
So it would start as, like, oh, I got, like, a little bit left, and then I would just end up eating, like, not protein, but I would always say it out loud to, like, rationalize it to myself, but also to all of you guys. Like, yeah, but, like, you know, it's a good amount of protein.
Yeah.
I get more protein in, bro.
It's funny, but it's like, it genuinely, it's those things, like, it's important to notice that stuff, like, because even for me, right, like, I think we talked about it on the last podcast I was on here, where I was, like, struggling with binge eating. Like, one of the nights I ended up eating a whole box of Chex cereal, right? And the rationalization that I made in my brain was, oh, if it's only really carbs, it's basically a refeed day. And so that means that it's okay. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it was like, that's how it would rationalize it, right? And so, yeah, I mean,
Our binges, bro, are very different.
Yeah.
I'm not eating a box of checks.
Dude, I mean, it's not enjoyable. It's not an enjoyable experience to eat that without any sort of like, any sort of milk. Literally just eating it plain, dry, out of the box. No, thank you. Yeah, I would not want to do that again.
That and like all the fiber from the Quest bars.
Dude, that was terrible. Like, one of the only times that I would say that I like basically binged in public was when I was working at 24 Hour Fitness. I worked at the front desk and they had like a big sale on Quest bars. And so I had bought a box, and I remember I bought it was like the white chocolate raspberry ones, because I remember thinking to myself, but I remember thinking to myself, these ones are really sweet, so I'm not going to eat, a bunch of these at a time. And then I'm working at the front desk, and I end up eating like more than half the box during my shift. And it was like, oh man, miserable.
Yeah,
dude.
that's like, thank God do the Quest bars have insoluble fiber or soluble fiber?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
I can't remember, but that would be if it's soluble fiber, that is a rough go.
Yeah, dude.
80 grams. You're gonna be trying to poop out a Red Bull can.
Yeah, it's not a fun experience. I definitely don't recommend.
Tell us about your poops, John.
They happen often. Often.
Yeah, dude. That's one thing about with eating like mainly fruit and meat. I haven't been great on it this last month. This last month was kind of wild, up in the air. A lot of different things.
What does that mean?
I just struggled this last month. I'm still I'm only 2 pounds up from my lowest, but I just fluctuating. But I don't know. I just it started with Maple came to visit, and so I kind of ate pretty good, and then one day had an off, and then just from there was just slowly introducing more and more food back, and I felt like crap, and the whole time I know I've been I feel like crap, so I have to not do this. But now it's taken to today and yesterday were my first 2 real good days. Like I said, I haven't been eating a ton of food. I just haven't been eating the good foods I know that have been good for me in the past. So it's just getting back to that. But it hasn't been before where it's crazy and just over consuming. It's just making some of the poor choices I would make in the past a bit more often than I have been.
Yeah.
But I also upped my dose to 10 milligrams on GLP-1.
Yeah.
Just because I've felt that little bit of an urge come back more. So I've been on 7.5 for almost two months or so now. So, but yeah. What was I going to say with that though? When I'm, we were talking about pooping.
Oh yeah.
I was just going to say that when I'm doing that, dude, it's so minimal and so easy.
Yeah.
When you eat crap, you go crap.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You can notice these things a lot easier.
Yeah, well, and it's all connected, literally, right? So I mean, even myself, because I mean, my diet is very regimented in the way that it's very similar most days, especially at this point, because I am also trying to kind of lose weight, right? And so I'm at the lowest I've been in a while. I started, I don't know, a few months ago, and I was 225-ish, but that was after I had eaten a really high sodium meal, and then the next day I weighed myself. So the next day after that 225, I was down 3-4 pounds, right? So I was closer to 222 probably. And now I'm down to 213, 215 kind of area. But the way that I've done that is just by being pretty much cutting out chips, because I would eat a lot of chips.
Pop chips?
And yeah, popcorners. I think they're called popcorners, pop chips. No, popcorners. And I would eat I would end up eating probably 400 calories worth while I was making dinner. You know what I mean? That was a thing that I would do. It became part of my routine, And so I cut that out, and then just being if I am gonna snack, I'll just do fruit kind of thing. And then big part of it is no longer eating out as much. I've been eating out once a week, if that. And so that's been really helpful for me as well. But with all of that, it's definitely made things more normal. But even honestly before that, it's been before it was always I don't know what things are going to look like, in the bathroom. But now it's I pretty much know how it's going to go, and I can prepare for it,
Yeah. All right. Well, we've got to the podcast where we're talking about shit.
That's true.
I think this is good. To end
I don't know. We can keep going. I can talk about the texture. I'm just kidding. I would not do that.
People will never want you back, bro.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
And, yeah. But yeah, as far as relationships go, I feel like we covered it. Just communicate clearly, do your best, know that like it's part of the journey, and that you just got to keep trucking because you're working on yourself, you're working to become healthier. And the one last thing I will say is a weight loss journey will show you who your like true friends are. Like there's definitely going to be habit changes, and like if those new habits don't align with some of your old friends' habits, like you will have distance from people. Like it's kind of a natural thing.
Yeah.
Whenever, and it's not even just weight loss, it's whenever you're like self-improving and whenever you're like, ooh, this is like something I need to work on and better myself with, like you're going to disconnect with some people you thought you were like super connected with. And that's okay. It's part of life. Just know that like, don't let, at the end of the day, you are you come first, your family second. Those are the only people that should really delegate what you do with your life. So like make sure that if it comes to that, you having to cut someone off that's making it hard for you to achieve what you know you should, listen to yourself, Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And like, I mean, just on one more point about that, like I think it's pretty common. I've heard a lot of people say this, like you might realize that you had people that were keeping you around because you almost made them feel good about themselves, and those people will sort themselves out. They might be rude to you, or they might just kind of almost say that basically to you, right? And so then that might come out with them being like, you think you're too good for me, you think you're this, and so don't be too disheartened by that. That's a pretty common thing that happens. They might end up kind of switching up eventually and being able to understand that maybe what they were doing was wrong, or maybe they won't, but that has nothing to do with you, right, at the end of the day. So
Yep. But yeah, that has been this episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay beautiful, stay healthy, stay sweet, and we'll see you in the next one.
Peace.